Hello everybody and welcome to the Whiskey Dictionary. Today I'm going to be taking a break from bourbon and all other things to review the first scotch I've done on this channel so far in 2023. And I picked a pretty good one. Or, I guess I can't take credit. Actually, Clifton from Bourbon Bites picked this one for me. We were over on the secondary channel Dungeons & Drams, D&D live play kind of thing. Go check it out. But we were talking about what we wanted to drink that night, and he was going to be drinking some Deanston 12 year. And he said to me, hey, you should try to pick up some Deanston. I had never had Deanston before. In fact, I knew nothing about Deanston. So I went and did a little research, and here I am to share with you guys. Deanston Distillery is a Scottish whiskey distillery located in the village of Deanston. The distillery was originally established in 1785 as a cotton mill, but was converted into a distillery in 1965, releasing their first whiskey under the name Old Bannockburn. However, Deanston wouldn't be released as a brand until 1974. In the early days, the cotton mill was actually powered by the River Tythe, and I'm gonna just say Tythe because that's every pronunciation I could find online alluded to that, so I'm sorry if I'm saying it wrong. But the River Tythe, which actually translates to calm and pleasant water, which is funny because the water itself rushes pretty quickly, and it is used to power not only the original cotton mill by a water wheel, which is a gigantic water wheel, but nowadays it actually produces enough energy through underwater turbines, not only to power the distillery in its entirety, but the visitor center, their coffee shop, their offices, and they have about 75% left over just to put back into the grid. So it's an example of just an awesome way of working with nature to actually have a green distillery, and I love that about this. The conversion of the mill in 1965 was done by Brodie Hepburn, which was the new owner. He saw this potential for the water source as well as the large building with a power wheel that could just run the distillery. Not only that, but all these new people who had just lost their jobs from the cotton mill could basically come back and be trained to run a distillery. And this gamble worked out really well, so I kind of like that. Now, there's a few other things like the changing of hands several times over the years that you always see. But nowadays, it's called Deanston, and they make good whiskey. Let's go ahead and check out what some of those expressions are. Now, their core range includes Kentucky Cask, then you have the Virgin Oak, then you have a 12-year and an 18-year. But they also have limited editions, a lot of things that you would expect, like Oloroso Sherry, PX Sherry, Marsala, Pinot Noir. But, you know, they do the occasional new thing, so definitely keep an eye out for them. But let's talk about the metrics of this bottle. This Highland Single Malt, first produced in 2010, is bottled at 46.3% ABV. It is no age statement, but it doesn't really matter because in this one it's all about the finishing. They take an ex-bourbon barrel from Kentucky and then they ended up putting it into this Virgin Oak, thus the name. Now, the mash bill is 100% malted barley sourced from local farms. It's non-chill filtered, it's got no added coloring, and its MSRP is around $40. All right, let's get into the nosing and the tasting. So the nose on this is just absolutely fantastic. It's a shock, honestly. This is a $40 bottle. So when I think about this being no age statement at 46.3% and not having any burn on the nose, in fact, not only no burn, it is just an abundance of apples. And that is typical of an ex-bourbon barrel, so not a surprise to find it in here. This is one of those cases where the distillate took on the flavor of the barrel really well, from the nose point of view. I mean, maybe I've tried this already, maybe my half bottle, but let me talk to you a little bit more about the nose before we get into the taste. All right, some of the other things I'm getting here are heather, like those purple flowers, like a field of heather. It's got that vibrance from kind of like a grassy, plant-based. It's not vegetal. I don't want to say that because that implies a different smell than what I'm getting here, but I also don't want to say lavender because that's not what I'm getting. But it reminds me of purple, and it reminds me of the smell of heather. So take that for what it's worth. Followed up by lemon zest. Sorry, not lemon zest, orange zest. Definitely, actually, I don't smell lemon at all in this. But that's actually, now that I mention it out loud, that's peculiar. I would expect to smell lemon in this. But anyway, back to the actual nosing notes. Orange zest, for sure. It is, again, very light crisp. Think of anything that you can think of that just kind of brings you up. It's like a crisp apple, orange zest, smell of a flower. Everything about this is just an upper, and it just brings you to a good place. Very little of the oak is actually translating here in the way of smelling like oak, like you would get in a heavy oaked bourbon. And that's fine. It didn't spend enough time to pick up a lot of that heavy char or anything that would be left over in the ex-bourbon barrel. But if it did, I think a lot of that is just kind of cleaned by this new oak barrel. So either way, I think I want to get a little bit more out of this. I'm noticing a couple of fruits in here other than just apple, but it's taking a little bit of time to mature into this. Like, I'm still on the nosing notes, guys. This is a $40 whiskey. What? So when I nose this, there's a couple of things I get. Banana, which not completely a surprise, if you think about where this barrel might be from. Then also a little bit of mango, which that is a surprise. That doesn't happen a lot. To the point where, this is going to sound weird, when those two are together, sometimes I smell them as pineapple. I'm not putting that on the nosing notes because I do think that the banana and the other thing I said, the mango, I think they're disparate, and I don't think that they're quite into that pineapple range. Nosing is weird. There's more to this, and I kind of want to like spend a little bit more time on this, but tell you what, I'm going to put a couple more notes here just so I don't spend forever just nosing this. All right, let's go into the tasting. Cheers. Okay, so still not really feeling the heat too much. You taste it a little bit. Like, there is the alcohol, right? But that's fine. This could easily be your first drink of the night, and it's not going to blow your palate whatsoever. Even at 46%, which is high for a lot of people. Just think about it. Most people drink 40% whiskeys. But in this case, this is perfect at 46%. Lower, and it would taste watery. Higher, and I think it would be overpowered by the ABV. Honestly, even if this was like 45, I'd like to try it at 45. I don't have the specific measurements to be able to dilute this down like 0.5%, you know. But anyway, on the taste, let me stop talking and tell you what this tastes like. Okay. This is gonna be a little rapid fire here. So a little bit of like a chocolate dust, like chocolate powder. That's a better word. It's not heavy. It's airy. It's like whoosh, chocolate powder. Yes, just like that. All right. So chocolate powder, and then a little bit of those apples are coming through again, specifically green apple. Pineapple, in this case, I am going to go with the pineapple here. Not going to go with mango, not going to go necessarily banana, although that might come out a little bit after I take a couple more sips. Creamy, like a sometimes I'll say vanilla ice cream. I'm not saying that this time, although I am starting to taste a little bit of vanilla as it's drying on my tongue. So I'm not going to combine the two like sometimes you can. I'm just going to say this is not only creamy, but it also has flavors of vanilla. But another thing too, it's a little bit oily in a good way, in that it's coating the inside of my mouth. You get that from the higher ABV. So let's have another sip, because what the heck is this Deanston doing? I love the color on this one too. I don't know if you guys, sometimes I hold it up to my head and you can kind of tell. That's why I shave my head. I actually have luscious, luxurious locks. But I do it for you guys. Okay. I'd say that's most of what you're getting here. There's like some malt going on, but that's kind of like calling out, I don't know, cinnamon on a bourbon or vanilla on a bourbon. It just kind of happens when you're using 100% malt. All right, let's go into the overall here. Now, obviously, I'm enjoying this whiskey. However, I do want to be fair and try to not just sit here and be like, wow, So when I think of this overall, this is a $40 whiskey. It is pretty easy to find, but not extremely easy to find, which is going to be a little bit of a problem for me. Because I could actually see getting this one again. At the price point, I think it is perfectly priced. If this was $60, I would not recommend this bottle. However, at $40, oh my gosh, like this almost got a stock it for me. The only reason it didn't is because I looked around and it's not readily available everywhere. I also think like stocking it on a scotch is a little bit tough. But this is a buy it all day long. Like if you've never tried anything Deanston, start here, because this is kind of their intro and it's wonderful. Like I'm very excited to go. I want to go buy their 18 and just see what they translate into. But anyway, yeah, so this gets a rating of buy it to possibly stock it. I might change my rating in the future. But let me know what you guys thought down in the comments. If you've had the Deanston Virgin Oak or any of the other types, let me know if the higher age statements are worth it, and I'll probably do it on the channel. So thank you guys all for joining me here on the Whiskey Dictionary. Make sure to check out the Patreon, but more importantly, join the Discord. It's really fun to have more people coming in there and everything. We've got hundreds of people in there, and it's a lot of the same people talking all the time. We'd love to have you be one of them. All right, have a great rest of your night, and cheers.